In a quiet village in eastern Nigeria, there lived a girl the villagers feared. Not because she hurt anyone, but because her eyes glowed like fire in the dark. They called her strange. They called her dangerous. But no one knew the truth about the girl named Elara. Long ago, in the red earth land of eastern Nigeria, there was a small village called Umuaka. Umuaka was the kind of village where the rooster announced the morning, where children chased goats along dusty paths, and where the elders sat beneath the great Iroko tree to tell stories when the moon climbed into the sky. Everyone in Umuaka knew everyone, and everyone talked. But among all the children in the village, there was one girl the villagers always whispered about. Her name was Elara. Elara lived in a small clay house at the edge of the village with her widowed mother. Their roof was made of palm leaves, and their farm was small, but their hearts were gentle. Elara was not like the other children. While the others played chasing games in the open field, Elara loved the forest. She would walk among the tall trees, watching butterflies dance in the sunlight. She spoke to birds. She studied flowers. She listened to the wind as if it carried secrets. And somehow, animals trusted her. If a bird was wounded, Elara would gently hold it and whisper soft words. If a goat was sick, she would bring herbs from the forest.
Look at the goat.
Many times, the animal would recover. But in a village where old beliefs ruled like kings, being different was dangerous. Some villagers began to murmur. "Have you noticed that strange girl?" one woman whispered near the village well. "Yes," another replied quietly. "She spends too much time in the forest. She talks to animals. That is not normal." Their whispers slowly grew like weeds in the rainy season. Soon, the children began to avoid Elara. When she walked past, they would point and giggle. "Which girl?" one boy muttered. Elara pretended not to hear. But inside her heart, the words stung like angry bees. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon and painted the sky orange, Elara returned from the forest with a small bundle of healing leaves. She found her mother sitting outside their hut, looking worried. "Elara," her mother said softly, "people are talking again." Elara sighed and sat beside her. "Why do they fear what they do not understand?" she asked. Her mother looked toward the darkening forest. "My child," she said quietly, "sometimes people fear what shines differently." That night, as the village slept, the wind began to rise. Clouds gathered like angry warriors in the sky. Thunder roared across the hills. The storm that followed would change Elara's life forever. Because when morning came, the village of Umuaka would be searching for someone to blame. And the whispers about Elara would turn into something far more dangerous. The morning after the storm, Umuaka was not the same. Huts lay scattered like broken toys. The river had overflowed, swallowing the yam fields. Chickens and goats wandered lost, their cries piercing the air. The villagers gathered, their faces pale and eyes wide with fear. They whispered to one another, pointing fingers, shaking heads, and blaming the invisible hands that had brought such destruction. "Elara," one woman shouted suddenly, her voice trembling. "It is her magic. The girl from the forest. She has cursed us." Gasps spread like fire through dry grass.
"Elara, you bring the blight!
Elara,
We
still
must
carrying
drive
her
you out!"
bundle of herbs, stopped in her tracks. She looked around. Mothers clutched their children. Fathers muttered under their breath. Even the elders, wise with many seasons, frowned in uncertainty. I did nothing," Elara said softly, stepping forward. I only help the animals. I only help the sick. Please, this is not my doing. But the villagers would not listen. Fear had taken root. And in Umuaka, fear could grow into something darker than the deepest night. They always said she is different, one man whispered. See how the storm came after she walked alone in the forest. This is proof. Witch, another cried. She must be punished before she curses us again. Elara's heart sank. The girl who had always loved the birds, the trees, and the animals now felt the sharp edge of the villagers' hatred. She wanted to run, to hide, but where could she go? The village surrounded her like a net, tight and unyielding. Her mother grabbed her hand, tears streaming down her face. Elara, my child, do not fight them. Do not let fear guide your steps. But the villagers were already forming a circle around her, shouting, brandishing sticks and knives, their eyes wide with terror and suspicion. Elara looked into their faces, searching for even one person who might understand. But all she saw were strangers wearing the masks of friends. And in that moment, something inside her shifted. Fear rose like a river ready to flood, but beneath it, a tiny flame of courage sparked. If she could survive this, she would have to rely on her wits, her knowledge of the forest, and the kindness she had always carried in her heart. For now, though, the words of accusation hung over her like a heavy cloud. You are a witch, the villagers screamed. You bring misfortune. You are not welcome here. Elara clenched her fist, her palms sweating, her eyes burning with tears and determination. She knew the storm had not come from her. She knew the magic in her hands was only love and healing. But proving that to a frightened village, that would be a far greater storm than any sky could ever summon. And so, with the wind howling through the empty streets of Umuaka, the girl called a witch prepared to step into a world that would test her in ways she had never imagined. The whispers were no longer gentle. They had grown into a roar. And there was no turning back. Elara's heart sank deeper each day as the villagers' fear grew. It was not only her love for the forest or the way animals trusted her. There was something more, something the villagers could not understand, something that made their whispers sharper and their glances colder. Elara had eyes like liquid amber, glowing faintly even in the dark. At night, the elders said, they shimmered like fireflies trapped in glass. Some claimed they could see her thoughts in those eyes, that she knew secrets no one had spoken. Others whispered she could look into the future, or cause the unwary with a single glance. See her eyes, one woman hissed near the well. I told you. She is not like us. She is a witch. Even children, usually fearless, would avoid her path, saying she could see your soul. And Elara, she could feel their fear, feel it pressing against her like a heavy storm cloud. By day, she tried to move quietly, fetching water or gathering herbs, but suspicion followed her like a shadow. Men crossed the road to avoid her. Mothers pulled their children away. The laughter she used to hear in the village had vanished, replaced by whispers, mutters, and angry glares. Elara's mother, seeing the fear in her daughter's eyes, cried quietly at night. My child, why do they see danger where there is none? Your eyes, they are a gift, not a curse. But Elara could not comfort herself. Her heart ached with loneliness. She had always wished to help, to heal, to be part of her village. Instead, she was haunted by her own people. Every day, she walked further into the forest, seeking refuge among trees and birds who never judged her. I only want to belong, she whispered to a wounded dove she carried in her hands. Why do they hate me for being me? But even the forest could not erase the sting of human fear. Each branch she passed seemed to remind her of the walls closing in at Umuaka. The elder's words echoed in her mind, fear is stronger than truth when hearts are blinded. And so, the girl with amber eyes, whose kindness knew no bounds, became a shadow in her own village. She was called a witch, caused by rumors, and yet, the small flame of hope still glimmered in her heart. For deep inside, she knew, her journey had only begun. To survive, to prove herself, she would need courage, cleverness, and a secret the villagers could never imagine. And so, as the sun sank behind the hills and the wind whispered through the trees, Elara's struggle began, not just against fear, but against the very hearts of those who should have loved her. The world had judged her, and now, she would learn to fight for the truth of her own light. Elara wandered deeper into the forest than ever before. The village of Umuaka felt like a distant memory, full of fear and whispers. Her amber eyes, once admired for their beauty, now marked her as dangerous. Every rustle of leaves made her heart leap, every shadow felt like a threat. She had nearly given up hope when, on a misty morning, she saw a figure standing beside the river. The figure was small, bent with age, yet her presence was strong. She wore a robe made of woven leaves and beads that tinkled softly as she moved. "Child," the old woman said in a voice like wind through reeds, "why do you wander alone, carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders?" Elara stepped back. Fear rose like a tidal wave. "Who are you? Are you another spirit sent to punish me?" The old woman chuckled softly. "No, my child. I am here to show you the truth. The magic that others fear in you is not evil. It is the light in your heart, hidden beneath their fear." Elara looked down at her hands, stained with soil and herbs. "Light. They call me a witch. They fear my eyes. I cannot change what they think." The old woman reached out and touched her forehead gently. "The world will always fear what it does not understand. But courage, my child, comes from embracing who you are. Kindness, compassion, and love, these are your true powers." Elara blinked, unsure if she understood. The woman's words felt like a river slowly melting ice within her chest. Could it be true? Could her amber eyes, her love for the forest, her gentle hands, could they be a gift rather than a curse? The old woman handed her a small bundle of herbs tied with red string. "These will not only heal bodies but hearts. Use them wisely. Help those in need, but remember, you are not here to prove yourself to the fearful. You are here to honor your truth." For the first time in many days, Elara felt hope flicker. She realized that hiding would not save her village, and fighting them with anger would only make them fear her more. But helping them, secretly, quietly, without seeking their approval, could change everything. "I will try," Elara whispered, gripping the herbs tightly. "I will try to be strong, even if they do not understand me." The old woman smiled, her eyes glinting like the sun on the river. "Good. The journey will not be easy, child. You will face storms far fiercer than any the sky can summon. But remember, a true magic comes from the heart, not from fear." And with that, she disappeared into the mist, leaving Elara alone, yet not lonely. For the first time, she felt a spark of purpose. She would not let fear define her. She would walk a path of courage, guided by kindness and wisdom. And in the village of Umuaka, the winds of change were beginning to stir, though no one yet knew it. After her meeting with the old woman, Elara returned to the edge of the village, hidden beneath the shade of tall trees. She carried her small bundle of herbs, her heart steady with purpose. The villagers did not know, but she had decided she would help them, even if they continued to call her a witch. It began quietly. A sick child, fever burning like fire, woke her mother in the dead of night. Elara slipped through the shadows, leaving herbs boiled in water at the doorstep. By morning, the child's cries had stopped, replaced by peaceful sleep. At first, the villagers were puzzled. Who brought this? One mother whispered to another. The herbs, the child is better. Elara continued her secret acts of kindness. She mended broken roofs after storms, poured clean water into wells, and nursed the goats that wandered too far. Each time, she left without a word, disappearing like mist into the forest. But slowly, the whispers began to change. Did you see the goats? They look healthy again. Who could have done this? Not the elders, not anyone I know. The villagers began to notice small miracles, plants growing taller, streams running clearer, and the air feeling lighter. And yet, no one could find the source. One evening, as the village gathered near the great Iroko tree, an elder spoke aloud, his voice trembling. Perhaps, we have been wrong. Maybe the girl we called a witch is not what we feared. Other villagers nodded slowly, some lowering their heads in shame. Could it be? A mother whispered. Could she have only wanted to help? Elara, hidden in the shadows, watched them quietly. She felt a strange warmth in her chest. For the first time, she realized that kindness could shine even in the darkest hearts. But the road ahead was not yet clear. Suspicion still lingered in some eyes, and the storm of fear that had once swallowed her village could rise again at any moment. Elara knew she had to be patient. She had to let actions speak louder than the words of the fearful. Every healed wound, every rescued animal, every quiet act of care was a seed planted. And one day, she hoped, those seeds would grow into understanding. Night fell, and the village of Umuaka slept, unaware of the girl watching over them. Her amber eyes glimmered softly in the moonlight, no longer a mark of fear but a beacon of hope. For the first time, Elara realized that the hearts of the villagers were beginning to wake up, slowly, hesitantly, but surely. And with that, a new chapter in her life began, the journey from feared outcast to silent guardian. The winds of change were stirring, and Elara, the girl once called a witch, was ready to guide them through it. The rains came again to Umuaka, heavier than any in living memory. Rivers swelled, wind tore through the village, and lightning struck trees like angry spears from the sky.
Please,
Panic spread as the villagers
We need
realized
to
their
stop the
homes,
flood.
their
It's
crops,
coming towards
even
our
their
land.
livestock were in grave
It's
danger.
rising. Let
Men
us
ran
make
to
an
the
effort to
riverbanks,
stop it.
trying to build barriers with mud and logs. They shouted to one another, sweating and straining, but the water rose faster than their hands could hold it. Women carried buckets of sand, trying to protect their children and huts. But it was all in vain. Fear gripped the village tighter than ever. The gods are angry, someone cried. Nothing we do will save us. From the edge of the forest, Elara watched quietly. She saw the villagers struggling, saw their desperation, and felt a fire ignite within her chest. Her amber eyes glimmered with determination, no longer feared but full of purpose. She ran into the village, clutching her bundle of herbs and a satchel of forest remedies. The villagers froze, staring at her with a mix of fear and disbelief. Elara, one shouted. It's too late. Even your herbs cannot stop this flood. But Elara did not hesitate. She ran to the river and whispered to the water, calling on the knowledge she had learned from the forest and the old woman. She scattered herbs along the banks, tied bundles of red string to trees, and murmured words that seemed to flow with the rhythm of the wind. The river began to calm, the mud settled, and the floodwater slowed as if listening to her commands. Lightning no longer struck dangerously, and the wind softened, bending rather than breaking the trees. The villagers watched in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what they saw. Many had tried, strong and brave, but only Elara's touch, her understanding of the earth, her connection to the forest, had stopped the destruction. Tears ran down the villagers' faces. Mothers held their children close. Fathers lowered their heads in shame. "We were wrong," one elder whispered. "She is no witch. She is our guardian." Elara, breathing heavily, smiled softly. "I only did what I could. You do not need magic to see the truth. You only need to open your heart." From that day, the villagers could no longer call her a witch. Her bravery, her kindness, and her wisdom had saved them when all else had failed. Elara had embraced her true self, and in doing so, she had transformed the village of Umuaka forever. The girl with amber eyes, once feared and whispered about, was now the light that guided her people through the darkest storms. And the villagers, finally seeing her as she truly was, began to change their hearts and their lives forever. Morning came to Umuaka, golden and warm, and the village stirred in a way it had never done before. The storm had passed, leaving behind clean air, clear skies, and a river that hummed gently through the fields. The villagers stepped outside, eyes wide with wonder. Crops that had been battered by the flood were standing tall. Chickens and goats roamed freely, healthy and unafraid. For the first time, many realized they had been wrong to fear the girl with amber eyes. "Who could have done this?" whispered a mother, holding her child close. "The river calmed, the animals are safe." Elara, hidden behind the trees, watched quietly, a gentle smile on her lips. She had always helped secretly, never seeking praise. But now, she saw a shift in the hearts of her people. The elders gathered beneath the great Iroko tree, murmuring amongst themselves. "Perhaps we judged too quickly," said one. "Perhaps she is not what we feared, but what we needed all along." A small group of children approached the edge of the forest, curiosity shining in their eyes. "Elara," one called softly. "Is it really you?" Elara stepped forward, amber eyes glowing in the morning sun. The villagers gasped, some in fear, others in awe. But this time, the fear did not linger. Instead, it was replaced by gratitude and relief. The elder raised his hands. "We called you a witch, child," he said, voice heavy with shame. "We feared your difference, and in doing so, we nearly lost everything. Forgive us." Elara's heart ached, but she nodded slowly. "I forgive you," she said. "I only wanted to help. I never wished harm." One by one, the villagers came closer, each offering a small gesture of reconciliation. Mothers placed baskets of food at her feet. Children held out flowers. Even the men who had shouted and accused her stepped forward, their heads bowed. For the first time, Elara felt the warmth of belonging. She realized that patience, courage, and kindness could change even the hardest hearts. The girl who had been feared, shunned, and whispered about had become a beacon of hope and love. From that day, the villagers of Umuaka no longer spoke of witches. They spoke of Elara, the girl who had saved them, who had healed their hearts, and who had shown them that true power comes not from fear, but from love. And as the sun climbed higher, casting golden light over the red earth village, Elara knew that the storm had not only changed the land, it had changed the people, and most importantly, it had changed her life forever. The whispers of fear were gone. In their place rose songs of gratitude, laughter, and hope, and Elara walked among her people, no longer the girl they had feared, but the guardian they had long needed. Months passed, and Umuaka flourished under the gentle watch of Elara. The villagers had begun to trust her completely, and the whispers of fear were replaced by laughter and gratitude. Yet, the balance of the world is never so easily kept. One sweltering afternoon, a thick, choking smoke rose from the forest beyond the village. A fire had started, devouring dry grass, spreading rapidly toward the
The
huts.
fire is reaching the trees.
Villagers ran in
It's coming
panic,
closer. We
forming
must leave
lines with
now.
buckets of water,
Run,
beating the
everyone!
flames
Get
with
to
palm
safety!
leaves. But no matter how hard they tried, the fire would not yield. Their hands burned, their lungs ached, and despair crept in like a shadow. "It's too strong," one father shouted. "We cannot stop it." Elara, standing at the forest edge, felt a cold shiver run down her spine. This was no ordinary fire, it was nature's fury, hungry and wild. She ran toward the blaze, her amber eyes glimmering like molten gold, and whispered the words the old woman had taught her. She reached the heart of the fire and scattered bundles of sacred herbs, murmuring to the flames as if they were old friends. She called upon the winds to guide her, her voice steady, her heart calm. The villagers watched in disbelief, powerless to intervene. Slowly, miraculously, the fire began to retreat. Flames shrank, smoke thinned, and the forest seemed to bend and bow to her will. Within moments, the blaze had vanished, leaving behind only blackened earth and the scent of smoke. Not a single hut had burned, not a single life was lost. The villagers ran to her, awe and tears streaming down their faces. Mothers hugged their children, fathers dropped to their knees, and the elders wept openly. "Elara," they cried in unison. "You saved us. Only you could." Elara smiled softly, her heart swelling. "I only did what I could," she said. "It is not magic, but love that saves us. Courage, kindness, and belief in each other, that is the true power." From that day forward, Elara was no longer just a girl in the village. She was a guardian, a healer, a symbol of hope. The villagers told her story to their children, singing songs about the girl with amber eyes who had faced storms, floods, and fire, and triumphed where all else had failed. The winds of Umuaka carried her name far and wide, and the village prospered, safe and united. And as the sun set, casting golden light over the red-earth village, Elara stood beneath the Iroko tree, smiling. She had been feared, accused, and misunderstood. Yet in the end, she had shown that light could always conquer darkness, that love could defeat fear, and that one brave heart could change the fate of many. The girl they once called a witch was now their hero, forever etched in the heart of Umuaka.
If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or kept you entertained, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful African stories that teach, inspire, and entertain.